Hey now, good morning, PSW staff clients. Friends, join us for Thursday. We're going to kick it cool back in LA because that's what we like to do Thursdays. Take a look at what's in our backyard and our neighborhood. And most of these things I like to look at are just part of history and things that you don't have to, spend money. You can just go down and walk around and take a look at all these things. Most of those things, just, it's an important part of, we live in such a great city with so much culture and accessible, so we should take advantage of it. So, yesterday we looked at Gigi, great Lerner and Loewe musical, and just so much fun. And then tomorrow we'll see your film scoring results for Trip to the Moon. They're looking really good. I can't wait to show you that. This was such a quick week, right? Because of the holiday and all that. So yeah, I know time flies when you're having fun. Even when you're not having fun, time still flies. So today, let's go to downtown, and we're gonna look at another hotel because a few weeks ago we looked at the Biltmore, the beautiful Biltmore Hotel. Was such an icon to LA back in the 20s because this was development of art and culture and commerce and all these things in LA. And so today I want to look at another place, another hotel. And today we're going to be looking at the Hotel Figueroa. Hotel Figueroa is a historic, iconic, it's 95 years old. This month, in August, it opened, and it's this award-winning boutique hotel. Big part of LA history, and 14 stories high. You've driven by it, it's right off the freeway. There's all those great murals that are always on it. It's just such an important part. What's the architecture? Italians, Renaissance, which goes back to the Renaissance era, and Spanish colonial. There's also Moroccan decor. LA is interesting because there's always different it's like a blend of different things, and that's what people kind of goof on LA sometimes about, that there's no, cohesive style sometimes. It's just kind of put together, but I think that's kind of what makes it really interesting and fun. So let's bring up our timeline because this is built in 1926. So after the Biltmore, after the Hollywood sign, but still before the City Hall that we know today. Obviously there was a City Hall before there, but City Hall, Bullock's, that's late 20s. This is right in kind of the mid 20s era. And downtown is the place where everything is happening with Bullock's and with Culver City and Hollywood. That's all west, right? And that's busy and congested today. But back in the early 20th century in Los Angeles, it was mostly all of the action took place downtown. So, and in the 20s, it's the Roaring 20s, right? I mean, this is prohibition, so there's nightclubs, there's drinking, there's illegal drinking, there's jazz and swing music happening right now. The movie industry is booming. Cars, the mass production of cars, right? Henry Ford is happening. Radios are becoming popular at home, so you can listen with your family around the radios. So people are really more involved with listening to the radio, because this is before television. So going to the movies and listening to the radio. So in 1926, probably maybe the biggest star and who makes her debut is Greta Garbo, and in the silent film Torrent. It came out that year. She's Swedish, right? I mean, she was Swedish. She came from Sweden, moved to LA, and kind of had a thick accent, but became one of the biggest actresses in the 20s and 30s. I mention her because this is the beginning of the early feminist movement, but not a little bit. I mean, that had been going on prior, but this hotel in particular is very important because this was the first hotel really in the country to be run by women. And we're going to take a look at one in particular that was very influential. So before we get to the opening of the hotel and the history, downtown, mostly the Tongva people, right? In the 1700s. We've talked about the Tongva Indian tribe, in particular in the area all over downtown, mostly in Union Station, where we did a whole class on. The Tongva people were the original inhabitants. And then after the Mexican-American War, Los Angeles kind of fell under more U.S. control, because the U.S. was more in control of all the stuff happening in the West that were, and we get railroads, right? 1870s, oil, 1890s, which is in Glendale where we saw the first oil. So huge, massive populations and technological advances, really exciting for our city. So in the 20s, women couldn't even stay at a hotel. Isn't that so weird to think about now? Not that, 100 years ago. It wasn't safe to travel alone. And people also thought, well, this could damage a woman's reputation as, why is she alone? Why is she single? Why is she looking for trouble? All of these kind of really sexist, kind of archaic attitudes that people had. So the YWCA, Young Women's Christian Association, as opposed to the YMCA, right, began to build female-only places, and Hotel Figueroa was one of the places that they built. They start in England in 1855, trying to liberate women's freedoms. So Hotel Figueroa was the first that they built that had all women in the beginning. And actually, you couldn't stay there until 1928 if you were a man. So 26 was opened to women. So it's Hotel Figueroa because it's on Figueroa, 939 South Figueroa. So they raised money. Construction began in 1925, and hotel opens in August 1926 with dance and entertainment and several, huge guests and all of these great, it's so gorgeous, all the decor and inside. And Maud Bolden was really amazing. Somebody that we should do our own class on. She was an aviator. She flew her own plane from East Coast to the West Coast. She was avid motorcycle rider. She would race men in motorcycles, and she was the manager at the Hotel Figueroa. She just broke all of these kind of different rules and culture barriers. And this isn't a male bashing class. Obviously I'm a male, but it's very cool to uncover and discover people that gave such a big contribution to our city. And if it's women, then give them credit. So her being the hotel manager, she championed a lot of women's rights and a meeting place for a lot of women to be there. So they weren't even allowed to stay in hotels before. Here with Hotel Figueroa, it started as kind of this place where women could come and stay and talk about issues. And they were only allowed to vote about just a few years prior. They weren't allowed to vote. So now women are getting rights, and downtown is also opening up its places to other minorities like women. So a few years later, men are allowed to stay there, like I said, and the 30s to the 50s, it goes, a lot of community organizations and clubs meet there in downtown. In the 70s, a lot of decline happens, like we've talked about in every class, 70s and 80s. It's not until like the late 90s, 99, when people start saying, well, we better not lose downtown, and we better not lose these kind of historic places. This is definitely thriving today, the Hotel Figueroa. It's a scene now, and maybe for better or worse, but you can still go down and get a drink, and the pool is just so beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed Hotel Figueroa. It really gave women freedom to live lives like they wanted to live, uninhibited, and just giving them the freedom. So I thought that would be really cool, just to take a look at that cool little place in our backyard, right off the freeway. So that's that. Okay, can't wait to show you your results for a trip to the moon. That's going to be Carmel-rific, Bonnie-rific, Lloyd-rific. It's going to be very fun. So okay, love you guys, and see you tomorrow.